Welcome back to another episode of the Shoecast show. If this is your first time listening, thank you for tuning in. This is a podcast where we interview and talk everything related to shoes. My name is Chase, and I'm always here today with my co-host, Landon. And today we are talking to Eric, or better known as Eman. He's a sneaker reseller with over 30,000 subscribers on YouTube, and he makes videos about his experience reselling sneakers while using sneaker bots. How's it going, Eric?
What's up? Thank you for having me, and I'm happy to talk.
Thanks, man. Yeah, thanks for coming on. So, first of all, we'll get started with, how did you first get involved with sneakers? When did that begin for you?
Yeah, sure. So it all started in 2017, and I was a college freshman, just meeting some people in my classes, and I met somebody who was going for shoes on the sneakers app. I'd never heard of it. I was like, "Oh, what's this?" And he was telling me a little bit about it. He was like, "Oh, go for these shoes." It was the 10 collection, the off-white Nike 10 dropping.
Oh, okay.
And it was like all 10 shoes were dropping that day in like 15-minute increments. So I was like, sure. I made an account and started entering it. I was like, this is fun. And then a few weeks after that, I copped some Supreme items, and then bought my first spot, Casper Cop, which was an iOS bot. And then for the Yeezy Blue Tint drop, I copped 5 pairs, and pretty much that's where it started.
That's some pretty good success off the bat right there.
Yeah, way to start off hot, man. So you kind of sound a little young. Mind if I ask like how old you are?
Yeah, sure. I'm 21.
21? Oh, okay, cool. I'm 22.
Yeah, so we're all around the same age. So you said it sounds like you got into botting pretty early. How did you actually, decide to get into botting?
Yeah, I was originally looking at like the sneakers app and stuff, and there were some bots for that. And then I also got into some Chrome extensions, and there was like Heated Sneaks and some other Chrome extensions that people were using. I was like, hey, there's like a market for this. There's people that actually bought these websites. And then I looked into it a little bit more, and I realized that a lot of shoes drop on a lot of different sites, whether it's Adidas or Yeezy Supply. And and then I started doing some research on Twitter, and eventually found Casper Cop. And then a couple of days later, they restocked, so it was perfect.
Wow,
and I picked up a copy.
That's timing right there.
So you mentioned off air that you're a full-time college student. So do you do this full-time? Do you bot full-time as well?
Yeah, so I take 5 classes, full-time college student. I'm a senior now. And then on the side, I do sneakers, I do YouTube, and I also have a part-time job on campus too. So okay. I got a pretty full schedule, but between everything, I don't really have too much time.
That's the way it works sometimes. Yeah. But so something that we want to talk about is usually, botting sneakers is somewhat of a shunned topic, or just not talked about a lot, but of course not always. But what kind of inspired you to kind of start making videos showing your experience going for sneakers?
Yeah, so when I was first starting, like especially in 2017 and going into 2018, it took me a long time to even figure out like basic things. Right. I mean, things about proxies, about bots. Just the basics took so long because no one was there teaching me. I wasn't really in any good groups. And, I figured after I got some experience, I was like, hey, well, people are starting off and they need a point, they need somewhere that they can go to for guidance. So I figured may as well start creating some videos and help people out. But yeah, when I was first starting, there was really no one helping other people, and everybody kind of kept their knowledge to themselves. I was like, well, if I buy a program and don't know how to use it and nobody's going to help me use it, then what's the point? So that's why I kind of started making videos on helping people.
Right, that's super cool, and you're definitely right about that. But so since getting involved with sneakers and stuff like that, have you kind of joined a sneaker group or a sneaker community or anything like that?
Yeah, for sure. I've been in a bunch of different groups, and over the time, I got into better and better groups. Originally, it was like a $10 a month group that just had some basic monitors, and then worked my way up to groups with more features and stuff like that. So eventually it was good, but at the start, it's really hard to get into a good group, especially if you don't even know that groups exist or like what they do. So it's really hard to get into a good cook group, and that's why, providing free knowledge on YouTube is something that I was interested in.
Right, and you kind of mentioned, some of the beginning. It's there is a difference between good groups and bad groups for cook groups and stuff like that. Especially in the beginning, you see a lot of people who aren't super transparent or kind of take advantage, playing jokes on some of the newer people in the game. And, you're kind of vulnerable because you mentioned, you didn't know about proxies and different stuff like that, that if you're not in, a group that kind of respects its members, I guess that's the way that you would put it, that you can find yourself in a bad situation, having people give you kind of misguided information and stuff like that. It's something that's pretty common with trying to get sneakers like that.
Yeah, for sure. And even there are groups that take advantage of their members and that can be detrimental not only for learning how to bot, but you could lose a lot of money that way if somebody misguides you into buying the wrong bot or buying some proxies or buying anything that you don't actually need or not going to help you.
Right.
Then you could lose a lot of money and even like get scammed. There's a ton of bad stuff that goes on too. So
Yeah.
that's also why I wanted to kind of help with that.
Yeah, people don't realize how expensive that stuff can be and the amount of knowledge and time it takes to figure out how to use it. It's not just download. Step 1, download. Step 2, get 200 pairs of shoes. It's not. It's not a 1-2 process like that.
Yeah.
It takes time.
Yeah, for sure.
So, with the whole sneaker community kind of always just against bots, if it's anything, if as soon as they get the L on sneakers, they're like, oh, it's bots. It's definitely bots. Do you get a lot of hate, or have you gotten any before because you're in that kind of botting world and you're kind of informing people about bots?
Yeah, I have, and part of it I just ignore it, but also I do see where they're coming from. I mean, if you're only trying to get a shoe to wear or something, then it can be kind of annoying just to have them fly by. But at the same time, the people that work harder and prepare more should be the ones that get the shoes. And I'm definitely not the first person that said that. I'm sure.
No, not at all.
I think it was Nova said that.
Yep. Yeah, Nova said
that
that on our podcast. We actually had him on, and he said the exact same thing. So
yeah, and I 100% agree with that. Or if somebody actually does work harder, they should 100% be rewarded for that.
Right.
And if people who actually wanted them manually wanted to get into it, then they could get into botting too. So I mean, part of it I do understand it, but at the same time, you can't just expect quickly to enter the sneakers app and hit every time.
Exactly. It falls into your lab. People just want it to fall into your lab. And if we were going off the sneakers app, my buddy over here would have 0 shoes in his entire life because he's never once hit.
0 out of 1,000. Yeah, it's been rough out here. Let me tell you.
That's rough. Yeah.
That's funny. But so what were some of the challenges? I mean, like we were just talking about, people don't understand the degree of difficulty that comes with getting bots and stuff like that, let alone being able to learn how to use them. What were some of the challenges that you kind of faced when you first started off?
For sure. So definitely one of the basic things was even learning how to set up bots. I didn't really understand the concept fully. And starting with an iOS bot, it was a lot different than, desktop bots. Where desktop bots, you run like tasks and you could run a lot of tasks. The iOS bot was a lot different, and it was pretty much like it would pop up on Yeezy Supply, and then you just hit a cart link and get straight to checkout, and it would autofill for you. So it was a much different experience, and it took me a while to even just understand the concepts of botting. And then in addition to get some good proxies, that was a pretty big struggle, just because finding good proxies and also proxies that weren't going to steal your data, that was pretty much a big challenge. And then after that, finding a good group to get information from and early links, and then dealing with some CAPTCHA stuff. There wasn't too much CAPTCHA stuff back then, but there was a lot of challenges along the way that really were a struggle to figure out on my own.
Yeah,
they've increased the CAPTCHA stuff since then. Believe that. We all know.
For sure.
So you've been botting for a while now. What's the highest amount of pairs that you've ever gotten from just like one initial drop?
Yeah, so I think the most I've gotten from an initial drop was like 30 something, probably on one of the black 350 Yeezy drops. I think the initial 350 V2 black, like the triple black ones, I think I got like 30 something on those. Zions I did pretty well on, so the Yeezy drops are definitely where I get the most pairs. But yeah, a lot of the time I'm hitting like 1 or 2 pairs on Shopify too. So like nowadays on Shopify, you really can't hit mass multiples anymore.
Right.
But sometimes those 1 or 2 pairs on Shopify can be a lot more valuable than like 20 pairs of Yeezys.
Right. So, mind if I ask, what bot did you use when you got the 30?
Yeah, I think at the time it was Soul AAO. Easy Supply was still a Shopify site.
Right.
So Soul AAO had a type of bypass where it would just send you the link, you click it, and it checks out.
Wow.
So all I had to do was like spam those links and check out a bunch of them. So at the time it was Soul AAO. For the Lundmark drop, Kickstation did really well. And again, that was when Yeezy Supply was Shopify, because you could hit like mass numbers when Yeezy Supply was Shopify, but it would also cancel a lot.
Right? Yeah, no, that's the worst part, man. Just you feel like you did so good, and then all of a sudden you're like, you go check out social media, and everyone's like, yeah, man, I hit this many, and you're just like, all right, we didn't all hit this many. So
Yeah.
here come the cancels.
Yep. And yeah, you can't even blame the bot for that because the bot did its job.
Yeah.
Can't blame the
Exactly.
proxies did their job.
Yep.
So it's really just you and your information, which
Yep.
is terrible.
Exactly.
Even when you win, you still lose sometimes.
Yeah, right?
Exactly. Yep.
But so this is just a question for you. What would you say is more important in your opinion? Would you say it's having a quality sneaker bot, or would you say a quality cook group to kind of hook you up with the information and when it's going to drop? Or is it a combination of both?
It's definitely a combination of both. I would say more importantly is the bot because you can have a really good group and you could cop stuff manually, but at the end of the day, if you want to get like a good number of pairs, you're gonna need a bot eventually. And having a good bot, you can always figure it out, learn from tutorials. There are a lot of free online resources now, and also a lot of bots have some pretty extensive documentation that you could read. So, like for example, CyberSoul, they have a great help desk online that you could always get through. So Cook Group will definitely help, no doubt, but a lot of times a good bot is going to help more. And even a lot of their Discord groups have a lot of information in them. For example, the CyberSoul Discord, they give like release guides, sometimes early links, stuff like that in the Discord. So that kind of takes away some of the need of a Cook Group, but both are essential. I mean, Cook Groups, the monitors, you can't really replace that.
Right.
And then all the information,
Mhm.
right?
So, we've been mentioning cook groups back and forth. What cook groups or groups are you in, and why do you prefer those?
Sure. So right now I'm in AK Chefs and Notify. So
Mhm.
those are the only two groups I'm in. And both of them, they do a really good job at actually making sure their members are succeeding. And like even, you're not going to hit every release, but they make sure that their members have their questions taken care of. They support their members, and they make it like a good experience for their members instead of other groups that might not care about their members and just kind of want their monthly subscription.
Right.
But these two groups, of course, they have all the information, all the monitors, all that stuff is completely taken care of. And then other features, they're always pushing the boundary, like new software for the members, new group buys. They're always kind of pushing it and not just staying still and not just like, all right, we have a decent group, we're just going to chill here. They're always kind of
Right.
improving, which is something that I really like about both of them.
That's awesome.
Definitely. And
Definitely
then
look
you-
out for.
Yeah, and you also have one of the added benefits to cook groups that people don't sometimes talk about is they'll inform you on some of the sleeper shoes that are just sitting that you can go and cop and resell for not your high volume profit like $50 to more, but I mean they'll have stuff sitting on there that you can cop manually and make $20-30 off of, and yeah, I mean you can't really turn that down. If you miss out on a drop one day, then you can just supplement some money in another route.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, not even only just bricks that are sitting, but also other ways of making money, whether it's like card flipping or drop shipping.
Right.
A lot of the big groups will have some pretty good details and information on a bunch of different ways of making money. So even if something does happen to sneaker botting, I think a lot of groups will evolve into other ways of just helping the members make money, and that in itself can really pay for the monthly subscription.
Right.
Definitely. So what would you say is one of the best achievements or one of your favorite moments that you can remember since you've been selling sneakers or, just being in the sneaker culture in general?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, one of my favorites is just I was coming home from an internship one day. I think it was last summer or the summer before it, and I saw like 30 pairs on my doorstep, and that was just pretty insane just to see that many shoes.
That's awesome.
Because I hadn't really seen that many. One or two here, they add up over time.
Right.
But like just seeing that was pretty insane, and knowing those were like the black 350 drop that I was saying.
Right.
Mhm.
So those were all selling for like over 100 profit easily. So it was pretty
Dang.
insane.
I'm
have
sure it
that
was
many
fun to
just
come
sitting
home
there.
and see $3,600 sitting on your porch right there in profit.
Yeah.
Nah, we'll
yeah,
take
glad
that.
they're not stolen.
Oh, for real. For real.
That
Yeah.
was definitely something. And then of course the YouTube channel. I mean, seeing everybody support me, like it's pretty insane. Like to visualize the number of views, like it's hard for people to visualize, somewhat big numbers.
Oh
But,
yeah.
like even getting like 10,000 views, now it's kind of like, all right, well, 10,000 views. But if you actually like put that into perspective, that's like a lot of people that are,
Or
watching
looking
the
at
videos,
your
supporting
content.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Or
So it's
even
pretty insane.
right. Or even your 30,000 subscribers. Like I can't imagine 30,000 people just be like, oh yeah, I know him. Like what?
Yeah,
That's
no,
crazy.
It's nuts to think about.
Yeah.
And even a year and a half ago, like the beginning of 2019, when I was starting my channel, it took me 2 months to get 100 subscribers. So like I was watching the Social Blade, and I would see like +1 for a subscriber for a day. And I was like, oh, that's insane! I got one subscriber and like 20 views for the day. So also, coming from that, it wasn't just like instant overnight growth. It took a long time.
Right.
So and there's still plenty of room to grow.
Right.
But that's one of the things that kind of motivates me.
Very
Yeah.
cool, man.
So now I know you make like full dedicated videos about just like how to get into botting, but if you could summarize that, how would you, or what was the best advice that you would want to give people that want to get into botting?
Yeah, for sure. A few steps that I would follow. First, you want to decide like the type of shoes you want to go for. So whether it's, the super limited stuff that only drops on a few Shopify sites, or the mass produced like Yeezys and sometimes Jordans that'll drop on foot sites, you want to decide what you're going to go for and then where it's going to drop. So do you want to, go for foot sites, or you want to go for Shopify or a mix or Supreme? And once you kind of decide that, then you could start looking at bots, looking at which ones are at the top, which ones are kind of cheaper, and which ones you feel are undervalued, stuff like that. And then once you actually get a bot, one of the most important things you have to do is constantly testing your setup. So one of the pieces of advice I always give is making a test profile just with fake information and just running a task on the site you want to bot, whether it's on foot sites or Shopify, and that'll teach you a lot about your bot. That'll test your proxies, that'll test your setup, and then you can constantly improve based on the task error messages. So if the task says like error generating session, then it's probably a proxy problem. So you can kind of like keep diagnosing and keep improving your setup just by doing that.
Gotcha.
Awesome.
So you kind of mentioned like, once you get your bot, like what's the best way to get a bot?
Yeah, so I mean, you could always try to go for them for retail. It's going to be pretty tough to bot, especially or to get a bot nowadays for retail. But there's always the bot marketplaces for reselling, Bot Broker, Botmart, Title. There's a few other ones too that are always good. The one piece of advice I'd always give when buying a bot for resale is to use a middleman. It's way better just to pay a middleman fee than to get scammed and lose all your money. So like 100% just use a middleman or use Bot Broker or something, because you'd much rather pay that fee than get scammed and get nothing.
100%.
Oh, definitely. That's great advice. So going back to your YouTube channel, kind of from your growth on YouTube, you're now sponsored from proxy companies. How did you become sponsored like that?
Yeah, after a while they, saw the channel and realized that, I needed proxies, but also some of my viewers needed proxies. And a bunch of companies reached out, not only the few that sponsor, like a lot reached out, but I really made sure to only pick, the ones that A, I used, and B, that worked, because I'm not going to advertise something that I don't believe in or that I don't use. So they reached out and offered, a discount for my viewers. So I took it on the companies that I really believed in, the companies that I use and worked with, and that I wanted to work with into the future.
Gotcha.
Awesome, man. That's
Simple
really
enough.
cool.
Yeah, that's awesome that you got that much exposure, and it's helping out your viewers and yourself. So that's great.
Yeah.
So where do you see yourself or your channel in the next 5 years?
Yeah, it's kind of tough. I mean, honestly, I don't think botting's going to be here forever. I do think eventually there's going to be some type of law passed that at least limits it. I don't think it's going to go away completely, but I do think something's going to happen in the future where it's going to be somewhat limited, whether it's only in the US or, from multiple countries. But in terms of where I see myself, I mean, I definitely don't see myself leaving sneakers anytime soon, just because I'd always feel like I'm missing out on something. Even, sometimes if I go on vacation and like I can't go for a drop, or like if there's a shock drop and I can't go for it, I always feel like I'm missing out. Like that's money to be made that I'm just leaving on the table.
Right. That's the worst.
Yeah, I always want to kind of go for them. So I think I'm always going to be going for sneakers. In terms of the YouTube channel, whether or not it's going to be botting content, who knows in the future. But I've been making videos for a long time, before this channel even. So yeah, I think I'll still be making videos in some way or another.
Very cool.
That's
man.
awesome.
So we'll take a step away from the shoes and botting and stuff like that. So whenever you aren't buying or whenever you're not selling shoes, what are some other hobbies that you kind of like to do?
Sure. So in college, I'm a computer science major, so I do quite a bit of coding. I haven't really looked into coding my own bot or anything like that. I've done like a few scripts here or there, but more just programming for the fun side of it, and then of course to kind of improve my career. So I do some programming here and there, and then also watch some sports. Pretty basic stuff. But besides, when I'm not doing sneaker stuff, I'm mostly working for school stuff or working a job. So I really don't have too much free time to just chill. But I do also play some video games. CS:GO. Rocket League, stuff like that.
That's awesome. Yeah,
Awesome.
definitely. It's always nice to get away from the sneaker game and take a break from it, because sometimes it can be very overwhelming.
Especially when
Yeah, for sure.
when you're having little success, just for an extended period of time too. I mean, I'm telling you, it can be a headache. It can be a headache
You need a
for
therapy.
sure.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
you were saying?
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say an L streak for a while that definitely need a break after that.
Yeah.
No, for real. And then you hit that one, and you just get a new. I think that's that's the like advantage that I don't want to say sneakerheads, but sneakerheads, people that are just involved in the sneaker industry have, is that you hit on that one shoe, and everything that you've been swearing off about shoes and stuff like that, you're like, nah, that's gone. Let's get back to it. Let's do it again.
Yeah, for
That's a
sure. And then
fact.
you get canceled, and it all comes back.
Yeah.
Oh, the ups and downs. The ups and downs.
So, what would you say is your ideal shoe collection? Are you more of a quantity, quality? We've had all sorts of answers. People have said that like they're
Prefer
only
a brand. Yeah, do you prefer a
dedicated to
brand?
like Adidas or something. What's yours?
I kind of just like any shoes that kind of look cool to me. I mean, it's really broad, but I like really comfortable shoes. So I'm not gonna wear something just because it looks nice and it's uncomfortable. I'm definitely gonna wear comfortable stuff. And then I really like functional stuff. That's why I really like Ultra Boosts from Adidas. They're like super comfortable everyday shoes. And also, I have a few pairs of Yeezy 350s because they're pretty comfortable. And then I like the look of Jordan 1s. So I have like the Jordan 1 Nigel Sylvesters.
Okay.
And then I also have like another pair or two of Jordan 1s, and I really like those looks. So, I like when things look good, but I really focus on whether or not they're comfortable to wear.
Definitely. So that actually kind of transitions us perfectly into our next question, which is, what's your all-time grail, and do you currently own it? Like your favorite shoe from your favorite brand, and what is that? Do you currently own it right now? Are you working for it? Kind of where do you fall there?
Yeah, so there's this one shoe that I think it was like a friends and family exclusive. It was the Adidas Pharrell Human Race Chanel collaboration. I think it was like friends and family only. They only dropped like a few pairs of it, and it's like pretty much a black and white Human Race from Adidas, which is like, it was super nice, and that's like the grail for me. But the good thing is they're coming out with like a triple black Human Race this year, or like pretty soon. So I was looking at that, I was like, yeah, that'll be the second best.
I'll
There you
settle
go.
for it.
There you go.
That'd be awesome. That'd be a
Yeah,
crazy
about
shoe
that.
to have in your collection. Or
Right.
friends
Yeah.
and family. Oh, that'd be
And
amazing.
it was like 10 grand plus. I was like, there's not a chance I'm ever spending that much money on it. But,
Eventually.
No way. I
Eventually.
mean, if there's one thing to know about the sneaker industry, there has to be some compromise whenever you can. The worst thing is coming across a shoe and then that you really want, you look at the price and there's just a bunch of zeros that come after the first number, then you know you're in trouble.
Yeah, for sure. And that's kind of what happened with the Nigel Sylvester Jordan 1s. I mean, I looked at them and I was like, oh, these are going to resell for so much. And they were super limited. They only dropped on like sneakers and like one Shopify site.
Right.
So I wasn't able to get them. And then I ended up paying resale for them. I only paid $300. So like they dropped pretty significantly after drop. And then I picked them up for resale, and now they're like $550. So it was a good investment anyway.
Yeah.
The
But,
best time, if you don't hit off the drop, the best time is like wait a week till they all come in, and you got those. That price is gonna dip, but it's gonna go back up. So you got a small window that you need to make sure you take advantage of.
Yep, 100%.
So we're running on one of the last few questions of our podcast is, if you could choose, who should we have on next?
Yeah, so probably Burger Kicks.
Burger
I don't know
Kicks?
if you've heard of him.
Yeah.
He creates some YouTube content, but also his Twitter videos are just hilarious.
Yeah.
And he's just like a funny guy in general. I've talked to him. So 100% him. He's a pretty funny guy in general.
Yeah,
And,
we'll definitely reach out to him. Yeah, I definitely. We're actually in Notify, so I can definitely just shoot him a DM. And,
Oh yeah, Notify.
Yeah.
Notify brothers.
Yes, Notify Gang. Here we are.
But before we start this outro, is there anything else that you'd like to promote or shout out or anyone?
I mean, not really. You could always come to my YouTube channel if you haven't seen what I do. And if you want any other tutorials, because I'm always looking for like new tutorials to make. So just send me a message. And if you ever need help with anything, I always answer my DMs about once a day. So you could always just shoot me a message on Twitter. I'm at SneakerBot with a 0 instead of an O.
Perfect.
All right, awesome, man. Well, that's actually going to wrap it up for this episode. If you like this episode, please feel free to show your support by liking, following, and subscribing to whichever platform that you're listening to. Thanks again to Eric for coming on, and thank you, listeners, for tuning in, and we will see you next episode. Peace.
Peace.